All right. Let me share this real quick to all my different places. Copy YouTube. No, Facebook. Alrighty. So, welcome you guys to the first ever 904 Fishing Live podcast episode, whatever we're going to do. We're going to be doing this every Monday at 7 o'clock Eastern. So today is going to be the first episode. Got my little list of stuff I need to talk about here. But as we go through, we're going to be talking about different topics, different things. Today is going to be the Mullet One Report. That's why I titled it in this video, or that's why I titled this video that way. A lot different when you're live and you can't edit things out, but we're here, we're live, we're answering stuff. So today's video is going to be about the mullet run and the mullet run report, more specifically about Florida, about fishing it off the beach, how to fish it off the beach, things of that nature. So first things first, whenever I refer to the mullet run, what I'm referring to is the yearly migration of mullet from the Carolinas and Georgia down to South Florida. What that means is all of the fish are spawning, they're moving down, they're heading down south, and that brings a lot of stuff with them. That brings a lot of species, that brings a lot of different groups of predatorial fish, tarpon, redfish. I mean, it brings out the trout, the flounder, like all these stuff all these species are here normally, but when the mullet run are here, they're more concentrated, they're closer to the beach. It's easier for you to catch them off the beach because the mullet are running so close to the beach. If you guys check out some of my other videos, or even some of the videos you see on YouTube, the mullet pods are less than 10 yards off the beach. I mean, they're 10 to 30 yards off the beach. They are right there, well within casting distance. So, number one thing when you're fishing the mullet run is to use mullet for bait. But did the first one. All right, so we're gonna get right into how to fish the mullet run. Tip number one that I have for you is use fresh bait. That's number one. It's super easy to get fresh bait. It's super easy to get fresh mullet. If you don't know how to throw a cast net, you can definitely get them pretty much anywhere. You can buy them at any kind of bait store, any kind of bait shop, anything like that. Or you can just ask somebody if you're on the beach and you see them throwing a cast net, like, hey, do you mind if I have some mullet, or can I throw your cast net or something like that? And I'm sure, I mean, if somebody walked up to me and were like, hey, can I use your cast net, or can you, cast net me some mullet or whatnot, I'd be more than happy to help them. That's just who I am, but I would like to imagine that other anglers would also have that out there. So I see some comments popping up. That's nice. Number two, when you have fresh bait, you want to keep it alive for as long as possible, especially with mullet. You want a bucket that doesn't have corners in it, so no square buckets or square pails. You want a rounded bucket, rounded pail, and a bubbler to keep them alive, put oxygen back into the water. Pretty easy to catch fish with a live mullet off the beach. You can use a 2-aught or a 3-aught hook on a fish finder rig. You got, let's see, that's a pompano rig. That's a pretty heavy duty. I'm sure I've got one here somewhere. Hang on. Should have been more prepared. All right, so this is a pretty standard fish. Like, this is something that I would fish a live mullet with when I'm out at the beach, especially during the mullet run. It's all tangled up, but this is something that I tied myself. All right, so fish finder rig. So I've got swivel here. Got my my sinker slider. Combine the words there. And then I've got 2 floats on there just because I was trying something different. And then I've got a 2-aught octopus circle hook. You hook them right through the nose so that it goes through their bottom lip and their nose, like nostril. You don't want to go too far back because you'll kill them if you go through the brain. Or you could hook them through the tail. There's different ways you could hook them, so they swim down or they swim up. Can't remember off the top of my head which is which, and I don't want to tell you guys the wrong thing. So that's a fish finder rig. That's a pretty common way to fish a mullet during the mullet run, especially right off the beach, and people use these on the intercoastal all the time as well. So when you're fishing a rig like that, you typically can expect redfish, trout, flounder, bluefish. I caught a lot of bluefish this year, which I'm super happy with because I love bluefish. I know a lot of people don't enjoy them, but I think that bluefish taste delicious. I like making them blackened with red beans and rice, grilling them up, making sandwiches out of them, fish stew, all kinds of stuff. The other different rig you can use if you want to catch something a little heavier, like a tarpon or shark or something, if you're going to use a bigger mullet. This is kind of overkill right here, but this is essentially the same deal. So I've got basically the same rig. It's a fish finder rig. This is just, I got 200-pound mono, and then I got to go into 300-pound steel cable with a 7/0 hook there. You can see it's pretty heavy duty. Rig like that I would use for either tarpon or shark. And the reason I say tarpon is because I've had tarpon crinkle the hell out of some wire and rip wire and break wire, even though they don't really have teeth. They're just a very, very strong fish, so you got to be prepared for that. Let's see here. So that covers tip 1, which is get fresh bait. Don't be afraid to use different kinds of bait during the mullet run. Just because the mullet are here and that's what everybody wants and that's what everybody using, you know, that's what all the fish want and whatnot. Don't be afraid to pop out some fish bites. I was using these a couple weeks ago when I was fishing out with Kimbra, and I had pretty good luck with it. Even though it wasn't mullet, I was able to get some jack crevalle, I was able to get some whiting, I was able to get some ladyfish. So when the mullet come through, it brings all kinds of species through. It doesn't mean you have to use mullet to catch them. You can use all kinds of things to catch them. You just have to make sure you're ready for what is being casted. Good Lord, it's way different when it's live. Tip number 2, don't be afraid to use artificial lures, jigs, rigs, baits, all kinds of stuff through the mullet run. That's something I just kind of went over with the fish bites. Don't be afraid to change it up and kind of throw something a little different, especially when it comes to fishing in the surf. You've got bait busting every year, all kinds of stuff. See if I can't change the scene here. All right, so yes, that's me. Yeah, Kimbra's here. Kimbra, thank you for watching. So these are some bucktail jigs. This is a pretty common thing to throw during the mullet run. White, black, something that's going to make it pop, something that's going to make it give it more attraction in the surf. This is a pretty common one. I would throw this on the intercoastal, even in the surf. It's just a jointed soft swim bait. You can see it's got sand on it because I got some use out of it, but jointed soft swim bait. I would put some scent on there and then throw it into the surf or in the intercoastal for any kind of redfish, trout, flounder this time of year. Spoons. Very common, very classic, especially this time of year. The mullet are going to be flashing in the surf. They're going to be going all over the place. Spoons this time of year are perfect for fishing the mullet run. They're perfect all year round, really, but especially when you're fishing the mullet run, it's really good to help you cover a lot of water, a lot of ground, a lot of territory very quickly. Especially, like I said, same thing with the bucktail jig. The swimming mullet, I would fish a little slower, but these two, especially if you're going to be like sight casting and running up and down and chasing a bunch of mullet pods up and down the beach, I would use these two, or just hook a live mullet and cast him out there. You know, that's also an option. But don't be afraid. Don't feel the need to shy away from artificial lures, artificial baits, attractants, things of that nature. Do you want me to come help you with the catching aspect? No, I got it, Kimbra. Thank you. Kimbra, if you guys have been watching my recent videos, has been catching a lot of fish, much more than I have in the past couple videos. So she always likes to joke, I'm not a for fishing, she's not a for catching. But I can't help but notice that I'm the one that has all the awards. Awkward. Going back to, or tip number 3 kind of goes back to what I already touched on because I was getting ahead of myself, is use the right gear. If you're going for redfish, if you're going for trout, if you're going for flounder, you don't want to use something, here, I'll change camera again. You don't want to be using something like this because this is way too much gear for redfish, flounder. I mean, maybe bull reds, but I wouldn't use wire for bull reds. I would just use the straight mono. this is way too much gear for redfish and trout and flounder. You want something much lighter, much thinner. You guys like my used sandwich bags? Much thinner, much lighter fish finder rig with a 2/0, 3/0 hook, as opposed to a 5/0, 6/0, 7/0, 8/0 hook even. So that kind of thing will inhibit you. Like, let's say you're throwing this out, right? You're throwing out this huge rig with 200-pound, or 250-pound cable or something. 300 pound? I don't know. Steel cable and mono. You're throwing this out with a piece of cut mullet, this big. The hook is 3 times bigger than the bait. That doesn't make any sense. Just like if you catch a mullet this big, it doesn't make sense if you throw it out on a 2/0 hook through its nose. Will you catch stuff? Probably, but you got a better chance if you use it appropriately, if you use the right rigs for the right kind of bait. Something like this, I would throw, a finger mullet out on anywhere from, 4 to 5 inch or 3 to 5 inches really. And then once you start getting into like the 6-inch plus like foot range, I would use the bigger rig. But most of the time off the beach, a lot of people, there's your reel setup, your rod setup and stuff is going to be more suited for the fish finder, the light fish finder rig with the 2/0 and 3/0 hooks. That's going to help you cast out a variety of different baits, variety of different artificial baits with, the mullet baits, things of that nature. I've even used a high-low rig. You guys saw in the past couple ones of my videos, I used a high-low rig with cut mullet on it, and I was catching a ton of bluefish. So even though bluefish have a ton of teeth, you get nice hooks on there, and then they can't cut through the mono because they never get to it because you got the hooks on it. So that's something to keep in mind when you're going out, when you're casting, when you're trying to target stuff off the beach. So let's see, what else do I got? When does it end? When does the mullet run end? The mullet run ends around December-ish, end of November, beginning of December. They kind of move past Jacksonville area and get down. It all depends on the weather. We just had a nor'easter come through. That's going to affect it. Hurricanes can affect it. All kinds of things can affect the mullet when they show up, when they don't show up, when they leave, things of that nature. So make sure you guys are using the right gear, the right baits, and you're putting the bait where you need to put it. Because I can't tell you how many times I go out there and I see people casting baits out or casting mullet out or casting, all kinds of different lures and attractants and stuff, and they're casting way past these bait pods. And, they'll even do the right thing. They'll go get a cast net and they'll throw out and they'll get some baits. And they'll get their baits and they'll cast 50 yards past the bait pods. That doesn't make any sense, because if you've got the surf, you've got the fish, if you've got everything, and I'll even show you guys a diagram here. So if you're fishing the beach, right, and all of the surf is breaking right here, and you've got big pods of mullet that are right in front of and right behind the bait, right? So if you've got mullet that are just behind the surf, which is typically where I find them if I'm throwing the cast net, just behind the surf and just in front of the surf, and you see these big bait pods moving about 10 yards off the beach. I mean, just in about a foot, maybe a foot and a half, 2 feet of water. If you see all this bait here, why would you cast way over here? Why would you cast, 60, 70 yards out if you're fishing for whatever's tearing up the mullet? Now, if there's a bait pod out there, then yeah, I cast out there. But if there's nothing out there, there's no reason to cast out there. You're looking for the fish, for the things eating the fish. The things eating the fish are going to be right here in this golden zone, following the rest of the mullet pod. They're not going to be out here cruising going, hope a mullet comes out here and I can eat them. No, that's not how it works. Even though there's hundreds of mullet, your bait will get bit. I mean, Kimber and I went out, one day I went out, she limited out in 2 hours on bluefish. We went home. The next week we went out and we limited out in about 2-3 hours on bluefish. I got my limit, she got her limit. So that's something to keep in mind. You don't want to be casting your bait or your lures or anything like that way out there, or if there's no mullet in front of you, you don't want to be casting there because there's no mullet there. You got to go find the fish, the 90-10 rule. 90% of the fish are in 10% of the water. So you got to go find the fish, find a good cut, read the beach. If you guys need to know how to read the beach, I'm putting out a video on that soon, so keep an eye out for that. If not, there's tons of others on YouTube. Go take a look at them. Chip, the sinker guy, he's got a great video on how to read the beach. He's got drone footage, all kinds of stuff. So guys, go check out that. But know how to read the beach, know where to put your bait. do it appropriately with the right rig, the right gear, the right setups, the right weights. You know, you don't want to be using, like I said, 200-pound mono on your spinning reel, casting a foot mullet out there and hoping for the best, and then you're going to get spooled in 2 seconds because you don't have enough line. Use the right line, use the right reel, use the right rod, use the right rig, you'll be good to go. It's pretty straightforward, easy, to the point. Let's see. This is the question and answers portion of the podcast. This one's only about 15 minutes because I went through my notes way faster than I thought I would. So, a lot of questions that I get asked in my comments that I'm going to go over right now is best time of day to go fishing. When's the best time of day to fish the mullet run? Well, that's kind of a trick question because in my opinion, I don't think there is a best time of day. Again, in my opinion. You guys have a different opinion, let me know down in the comments. But in my opinion, I don't think there's a best or a worst day to go or time of day to go fishing the mullet run. When it comes to the mullet run, I think the morning works out because you can get on a topwater bite pretty easy. And then after that, as long as the current's moving and the mullet are there, you're going to be catching fish. It doesn't like the first time when Kimbra limited out, we were there in the morning. The second time when we both limited out, we were there in the afternoon. It just depends. It changes. It matters. This time of year, I see a lot of people using shrimp in the surf. I find that they don't catch as many fish as I do. But maybe they're not targeting the same species I am, because when I go out and I'm using mullet for bait, I'm targeting redfish, trout, flounder, bluefish, tarpon if I'm lucky. But maybe if they're using, shrimp, they're going for croakers or whitings or things like that. So it just depends on, what you're fishing for, what you're doing. But time of day, I don't think it matters, is the short and narrow of it. I've caught fish at dusk. I've caught fish at dawn. I've caught fish at the dead middle of noon. It's hot as blazes outside. There's mullet everywhere. If the mullet are there, the mullet are biting. Or if the mullet are there, the prey is biting. Prey? No. Predator. The predators are biting. The predators are hunting. So keep an eye out for that. Keep your eyes on the surf. You don't see mullet, move to a different spot. Simple as that. Best location. That goes back to knowing how to read the beach. Whoa. Video game controller looks forlorn in between the two worlds. Where did you see my controller at? Oh. Thank you so much for the super chat. So does Spencer, Broken Reel 23, good videos. Awesome. Yeah, Down South Largemouth. Thank you so much for that super chat. Greatly appreciated. I didn't even... That threw me for a loop. Where is my controller? Now you got me like... Where's my controller at? I don't know. Anyways. Location. Head east until you hit water. Throw a mullet in it. Simple as that. Keep an eye on reading the beach. Keep an eye on where the mullet are. It really doesn't matter where you are on the beach. Obviously, some of the best places are going to be like standard surf fishing. It's going to be fishing the cut. It's going to be, fishing a trough, fishing behind the sandbar, fishing in front of the sandbar. I'll draw you guys another Venn diagram. So this is a basic, or Venn diagram. Show you guys another example. So if you've got the beach here, you've got a sandbar, and then you notice all the water is being funneled out through the middle in between two sandbars. You're going to see waves breaking here. You're going to see waves breaking here, all over the place. But they won't be breaking here. This is going to be kind of a blank spot right here. And you're going to notice all the water is flushing out through here. What that is a trough in between two sandbars. And all of the bait and whatnot in front of the sandbars are going to be kind of running down and then out through that trough. So some of the best places to cast your bait if you're fishing a trough, if you know how to read the beach, if you know how to do it appropriately. Wonder who that guy is. Oh, I get it. The try again thing. Okay, I get it now. Good Lord. Wait, who is that? Now you got me wondering. Is that you, Devin? Hold up. Down. Hold up. Down South Largemouth. I bet that's Devin. I'm pretty sure that's Devin. Let me get that Daiwa beanie. Okay, so I got this. Sorry. All right, back to the thing. I got this Daiwa beanie at Strike Zone, I think. It's one of my favorites. I'll be wearing it tomorrow because we're going sheepshead fishing tomorrow. But if you've got all this bait running in this first trough right here, and they're being flushed out through the washout, the riptide, whatever you want to call it, some of the best places to cast your bait are either right on the other side of it, because this is where the predator fish are going to be hiding, because they don't have to fight the current, they don't have to fight anything. They just sit here, they wait for bait to come out, boom, they get it. So keep that in mind. Other than that, really, find a pot of mullet, throw your cast net, grab some, cut them up, throw them on a cheap high-low rig, toss it out into the thing of mullet. You're going to get all kinds of fish. You're going to get, I mean, I've caught whiting, croaker, bluefish, ladyfish, redfish, trout, flounder, tarpon, other mullet. You can catch all kinds of stuff this time of year, right off the beach, right into the pods of mullet. So keep that in mind. There's really no like, oh, the secret location to fishing the mullet run is this. It doesn't work like that. Just go find some mullet, chuck some mullet into it, catch some fish. Simple as that. Best tide. That's another thing I get asked a lot. When's the best tide to go fishing the mullet run? In my opinion, again, this is all my opinion, my experience, I don't think there's a best tide when it comes to surf fishing overall, really, but especially the mullet run, is don't, I realize that's reflecting. I just looked and saw that. But don't get too hung up on the tide. As long as there's moving water, you're pretty much good. I fish the lowering tide, the high tide, you know, the slack tide, which means it's in between the tides, the water's not really moving. In that case, in the slack tide, I found that I wasn't catching as much, but I still caught some stuff. But when the tide is raising or lowering, I find that I caught a lot more fish because the water's moving, the fish are moving, things are just more active during that time period. But as far as like, oh, you should fish the rising tide in the morning on the second Tuesday of the, no. As long as the water's moving, you should be good to go. It really doesn't matter that much, in my opinion, what tide it is or how it's looking, what it's doing. Let's see. Other points I want to make. Cast nets. If you guys don't know how to throw a cast net, go look up some videos. I'm putting up a video next week about it. Super easy to throw a cast net. One of your best tools that you can have when you're fishing the mullet run. You don't need a huge cast net. You know, when I was younger, I thought I needed, an 8, 9, 10, 12 foot 8, 9, 10, 12 foot cast net. So I learned how to throw this 12 foot cast net, and I took it to the beach and I threw this 12 foot cast net and I caught literally like 300 mullet. And I was like, well, what the hell am I going to do with all this? How to throw 90% of them back. You don't need a huge cast net. Plus it's heavy. It's hard to store. It's bulky. You never get it back in that container. Now, a little older, a little more experienced, I got a 4 foot cast net. Throw it with one hand, get 20 mullet, I'm done for the day. That easy, that simple. You don't need all this stuff. You don't need all this crazy, gear. When I was younger, I thought I needed the biggest hooks, the biggest reels, the biggest rods, all this stuff. You really don't need all of that, especially when it comes to the mullet run. It's some of the best time of fishing for surf anglers, which is obviously what I do predominantly. Thank you so much, Devin. I've got a spot for you. Got to find time. Good luck on stream, bro. I'll definitely be in touch. Just got home. Sweet, man. Appreciate you. Thank you very much, sir. See, Devin, down south largemouth. He's got a that's a nice name, by the way. I like that. But he's got a secret spot that he uses for the mullet run. Everyone's got their little tips and tricks and stuff. The only thing I would say it matters when you're fishing or where you're fishing the mullet run is when you're on a boat or a kayak. Well, that's going to be a separate video. So, in conclusion, thank you guys for watching this first podcast. In my mind, this was going to be like half hour to an hour, and it's been 23 minutes. So I obviously need to work on more content, work on more material. This is going to be an every Monday thing at 7 o'clock Eastern. You guys tune in, keep an eye out, watch out. If you guys got any questions, you got anything like that, let me know if you're watching this in the future. Thank you for watching it, and we'll see you guys next Monday at 7 o'clock.